October 29th, 1929. Black Tuesday. The stock market collapses. 12% gone in a single day. Fortunes disappear before lunch. Banks begin failing. Businesses shut their doors. Factories go silent. And the panic spreads faster than anyone thought possible. By 1933, nearly 1 out of every 4 Americans has no job. Bread lines stretch for blocks. Families who once owned homes now live in cardboard shacks and Hoovervilles. A father stands in line for soup. A mother cuts meals in half. Children learn the difference between hungry and hungry enough to cry. What am I supposed to tell the kids? Tell them, well, figure it out. They didn't. Not for a very long time. For an entire generation, survival became the goal. Not success, not prosperity, just survival. Then came Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And Roosevelt was not interested in waiting. The federal government launched programs on a scale America had never seen. The New Deal, public works, relief programs, massive infrastructure projects. Millions of Americans went back to work building roads, bridges, dams, schools, and highways. The government spent money because private businesses wouldn't. And to be fair, it helped. A lot. The economy stabilized. Confidence slowly returned. But there was a problem. The Great Depression never truly ended. 10 years after the crash, unemployment was still around 15%. Millions remained out of work. The patient was alive, but still very sick. Then, everything changed. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. We interrupt this broadcast. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor. The United States is at war. And almost overnight, the economy transformed. Factories that had been sitting idle suddenly came roaring back to life. But now they weren't building tractors. They were building tanks, not refrigerators. Bombers, not family cars, battleships. Defense spending exploded. From roughly 1.4% of GDP to more than 37%. 17 million new jobs appeared. Ford began producing bombers instead of automobiles. Steel mills ran around the clock. Shipyards expanded. Unemployment collapsed below 2%. For millions of families, it felt like a miracle. Jeff got hired at a tank factory in Cleveland. For the first time in years, his family had a steady paycheck. Money was coming in again. The depression appeared defeated. And later, many economists looked at those numbers and reached a simple conclusion. Government spending saved the economy. Case closed. Or so they thought. Because Therese one problem. The numbers only tell part of the story. Let's go back to Jeff's kitchen table. It's 1944. Jeff is working. The family has income. America's GDP is soaring. Everything looks fantastic on paper. But around the dinner table, the conversation sounds very different. We're out of sugar coupons. The meat allocation got cut again. 2 pounds for the whole family this week. Well, according to the newspaper, that was the reality behind the statistics. Americans were earning more money than ever, but they couldn't spend it. Gasoline was rationed. Sugar was rationed. Meat was rationed. Coffee was rationed. Cheese was rationed. Shoes were rationed. Rubber was rationed. Car production had essentially stopped. By 1944, almost everything was controlled. Americans were saving over 25% of their income. Not because everyone suddenly became financially disciplined. Because there was almost nothing available to buy. This is where things become important. GDP measures production, not prosperity. If the government spends $10 million building homes, GDP rises. If the government spends $10 million building bombs, GDP rises by the exact same amount. The number is identical. The outcome is not. A family cannot live inside a bomb. Jeff was making more money than ever, yet his family was consuming less than before. That isn't prosperity. That's sacrifice. And the real test was still coming. 1945, the war ends. The guns go silent. The victory parades begin, and economists start panicking. Because now America faces a terrifying problem. 10 million soldiers are returning home. Millions of war workers are about to lose their jobs. Government spending is about to collapse. Defense contracts are ending. Factories are shutting down production lines. Everything that supposedly saved the economy is disappearing. Economists begin making predictions. Very confident predictions. Mass unemployment. Economic chaos. Industrial collapse. One economist called it the greatest period of unemployment and industrial dislocation any economy has ever faced. Others predicted widespread social unrest, violence, depression, another collapse. After all, if government spending created prosperity, what happens when the spending stops? Everyone thought they knew the answer. They were wrong. Completely wrong. The war ends. Government spending falls by more than 60%. Millions leave military service. Millions leave war production. And then something unexpected happens. The economy grows. Bomb factories become appliance factories. Tank plants become automobile plants. Shipyards start producing civilian vessels. Factories begin making products people actually want. Refrigerators, washing machines, cars, furniture, homes. More than 20 million people leave wartime employment. Yet unemployment peaks at only 3.9%. President Truman later described it as the swiftest and most gigantic changeover any nation has made from war to peace. The economy didn't collapse. It boomed. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If the war didn't fix the economy, what did? To answer that, we have to go further back. Before World War II. Before the Great Depression. Back to World War I 1914. Europe enters a war unlike anything in human history. Millions of soldiers. Thousands of miles of trenches. Massive armies. Massive fleets. Massive costs. Governments need money. Lots of it. Normally governments fund wars through taxes. But taxes have limits. Eventually people run out of money. The treasury runs dry, and the war keeps going. So governments discover a tempting solution. Print more money. There is only one problem. Most countries are still on the gold standard, which means every dollar, pound, mark, or franc must be backed by actual gold. Gold limits how much governments can create. And governments hate limits during wars. So one by one, they abandon the gold standard. The printing begins. The war ends. But the printing doesn't. Countries continue creating money, not to fight wars, to gain economic advantages. A weaker currency makes exports cheaper. Cheaper exports mean more sales. More sales mean more jobs. At least in theory. So France devalues. Britain responds. Germany prints even more aggressively. Soon everyone is trying the same trick. Nobody wants a strong currency. Everyone wants a weak one. And eventually, the system breaks. Germany becomes the most famous example. A loaf of bread costs billions, then trillions. Workers are paid twice a day. Not because they're rich, because money loses value before lunchtime. People carry cash in wheelbarrows. Life savings evaporate. Trust disappears. And once people stop trusting money, they stop trusting everything else too. World trade collapses. Global commerce shrinks. Economic instability spreads. Political extremism rises. People become desperate, and desperate people start listening to dangerous ideas. Germany chooses Hitler. Italy chooses Mussolini. Japan chooses expansion. The world begins marching toward another war. So by 1944, leaders finally decide enough is enough. Delegates from 44 nations gather in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Their goal is simple: build a financial system that prevents another disaster. Their solution sounds almost boring. Every major currency gets tied to the US dollar. The US dollar gets tied to gold, $35 per ounce. Fixed, stable, predictable. And suddenly, money has an anchor again. Governments can no longer print endlessly without consequences. Businesses can plan for the future. Investors regain confidence. Trade expands. Growth returns. Germany rebuilds. Japan rebuilds. France rebuilds. Nations destroyed by war become economic miracles. Not because of endless government spending, but because people could trust money again. And trust changes everything. But Bretton Woods contained one fatal flaw. It disciplined every country. Except one, the United States. Because the dollar itself was the anchor. And if America printed too much, who would stop it? For a while, nobody had to. Then came the 1960s. Vietnam, the Great Society, a war overseas, a welfare state at home, massive spending everywhere. America starts creating dollars faster than its gold reserves grow. Eventually, the math stops working. And one man notices. Charles de Gaulle, president of France. He looks at the system and realizes something. There are more dollars than gold. Far more. And if everyone demands gold at once, America can't pay. So France begins exchanging dollars for gold. Other countries follow. Confidence cracks. The bank run begins. Except this time, the bank is the United States. August 1971, President Nixon faces a choice. Lose America's gold, or end the system. He chooses the system. My fellow Americans. The United States will suspend the convertibility of dollars into gold. Just like that, the anchor disappears. The dollar is no longer tied to gold, and neither is anything else. For the first time in modern history, the entire world runs on money backed by trust alone. How did that work out? Inflation, oil shocks, stagflation, the savings and loan crisis, the dot-com crash, the housing bubble, 2008, and every time a crisis appears, the solution remains the same. More debt, more spending, more money creation, and every time someone questions it, the same argument returns. World War II proved government spending creates prosperity. But that's not what happened. The war did not make Americans richer. It made them sacrifice. The real prosperity arrived after the war, when controls disappeared, when production returned to consumer goods, when people could build, invest, save, and trade inside a stable monetary system. That was the miracle. Not the bombs, not the tanks, not the spending, the money. Because as a wise man once warned, there is no subtler, no surer means of overturning the existing basis of society than to debauch the currency. And history suggests he may have been right.